Hi, this is Nima, and this is Common Interest. We're doing a breakdown and analysis of the common print run for Battle for Zendikar. There's kind of some peculiar things they did with respect to how they group the colors in the set. I'm going to talk about that, and I did get to construct a couple little hacks that you can use to try to figure out what's missing from your booster pack if there's common missing. Just going to talk about the set in general. First of all, very, very typical big fall set, the same number of rares and mythic rares that we're all used to. The new updated increased limit of uncommons in the set is great as well. And then the booster pack, very typical. Most people know how this is organized. There's one rare or mythic rare in the back, 3 uncommons, along with the full art basic land and the 10 commons. And what a lot of people don't know is that the commons are also separated into 3 groups. There's group A in the front, then group B, then group C. For example, you'll notice if you look that every booster pack has a pair of 1 red card and 1 white card in the center of the grouping of commons. It's always going to be there. That is group B. And then moving on to like an example of a booster pack, that this is how they kind of pack the booster pack together, is first they take 2 to 4 cards from run A. Run A is comprised completely of blue, black, and green cards, and they will also show up in that order: blue, black, and green, or if it starts with the green card, it could be green, blue, black, green. And one of the easy ways that you could use this ordering, for example, is that someone passes you a pack and you notice 3 cards from run A, but there's no black card from run A. You know that they took a black card from there. That's a very easy way of trying to abuse the rules that are used for packing commons together. Run B is the 2 cards I was talking about before. There's 1 red card and white card, or 1 white card and 1 red card, so it has to alternate. They'll always be in the center of the pack. It's always going to be 2 cards. Very, very rarely it's 4 cards, actually. I'll get to that later. And then the rest of the pack is filled out with run C. If 2 to 3 cards are used for run A at the beginning, it will be filled out with C1. And that is mostly blue, green, and black cards, and then colorless big Eldrazi spells, and the non-basic lands such as like Looming Spires and Evolving Wilds are in there as well. And the peculiar thing is that there are no red or white cards used in the pack if it is a C1 pack. If you have like the shorter number of run A cards, then you'll fill out with a bunch of blue, black, and green cards at the end. No red or white commons in there. And the other thing that can happen is if we do have the full set of 4 of run A cards, it will be filled out with run C2. It kind of has like the flip issue. It's mostly red or white cards, and it's about 75%. There are other colors represented in there as well, occasionally, and then there's like Kozilek's Channel, there's a colorless spell that's also in there. It can go into any deck. But a lot of the strong red-white cards are in run C2, which is used if run A has 4 cards. So one of the interesting things going on here is this kind of dynamic where you have a pack that has exactly 1 red, exactly 1 white common, or you have multiple red or white commons. That's kind of abusable in my opinion, and it also kind of makes this kind of swinginess for a sealed deck. You might have a bunch of packs that have a lot of red-white commons, or you might have a bunch of packs that have almost no base of red-white commons. So that's something interesting to be used. And when I talk about a print run, I'm talking about this particular sequence. For example, this order of Dispel, Celestial Nightwatch, Earth and Arms, Merc Strider, I said they'd have to show up in this color order. If these are the 3 cards in here, then this green card also has to be Earth and Arms, because this sequence is part of another longer sequence, which is called Print Run A. I'm just going to skip ahead over here. For example, the example I use is down here: Dispel, Colossal Nightwatch, Earth and Arms, and Merc Strider. It could have easily been just like Brilliant Spectrum, Altar's Reap, Call of the Silence, Royal Mage's Trick. But the so over here, Earth and Arms is flanked by Colossal Nightwatch and Merc Strider, and the only other Earth and Arms, let me see if I can find it. It's going to be flanked by Sludge Crawler and Incubator Drone. This is the only way that Earth and Arms shows up in the pack, is with these cards around it. And then going back to over here, this is the physical representation of the print run. I want to talk about this in depth, but it's taking way too long. I'll do it in a separate video. The sequence that is that long sequence, 66 cards, is the order that they're printed on the sheet that the commons are printed on. So this is the ordering over here. The reason why those cards show up together in the packet because they're next to each other on the sheet where they are printed. And for example, the reason why the group B always has one red card and one white card is that it's taken from this group at the top of the sheet 2, and this is just a checkerboard of red and white commons. So you pull two cards that are adjacent next to each other on the sheet, it's going to be one red and one white. And that's why you get that kind of a balance over there. So what this does is that it makes sure that you have one common of each color represented in your pack, no matter what, unless there's a foil. I should mention that at the beginning, foils do mess up a lot of the rules for the print run because it can replace any card. So I say there has to be at least one card of every color unless it is replaced by a foil, which messes up a lot of things. And the other thing is that I talked about, this is like the physical representation of the print run. This is also the same sequence that is used for Magic Online, despite it having no like physical representation. The print run uses this, or the way the commons are put in the pack for Magic Online is exactly the same as the rules used for real life. However, on Magic Online, when you see your pack and you're drafting, the client shuffles up all the commons together, so you can't really see the patterns. It makes it a little bit harder to see what's going on. It will always be shuffled. That's about the only difference. And also, the way that the foils are inserted in the packs is slightly different as well. And then there's, I want to talk about these kind of examples of cards, of packs. I have this pack over here. It is at the top. There are Run A cards, one green, blue, black, green, and then Group B is a red card and a white card, and then Run C2 there's a just red and white cards. Actually, there isn't any other representation of colors in there. So you have like this long string over here, just red and white cards, 3 reds and 3 whites, and then for example over here we have like a C1 pack. We have only 3 cards from Run A, the green, blue, black, and then we have the grouping of white cards, or Group B. Kitesail Scout and Belligerent Whiptail, that's the white and red card that is represented in the pack, and it's filled out with Run C1, which is just these bug colors, and there's like a sandstone bridge in there as well. And then here's just like a way that the foil kind of messes up the pack. This foil is replacing a card from Run B, so there's only one Run B card in this pack. There isn't actually any white card in this pack, which is kind of annoying for anyone who's drafting white colors, I guess. And then, like I said before, sometimes you have 4 cards from Run B represented in your pack. Over here, it just replaces the C2 cards. So you have 4 cards from Run A, so it's a normal C2 pack. But instead of having 4 cards from Run C2, there are 4 cards from Run B and then 2 cards from Run C2. And this doesn't really actually change the dynamic of the pack too much, because Run B is all red-white cards replacing mostly red-white cards from C2, so it doesn't change it too much. It's kind of hard to notice if it does happen. Moving on to, I'm going to talk about the runs in a little more depth. Wait for the train to go by. This is the print run order for Run A. These are the cards that show up in here. There are 33 cards that each show up twice on the print run. And they also show up in the order blue, green, or blue, black, green, blue, black, green, blue, black, green, all the way down, repeating itself. Mostly these are pretty weak cards. There's a couple exceptions, and both of them are blue. Clutching Curse and Incubator Drone are in here, but the rest of the cards are pretty weak, like Earthen Arms, Blister Pod, Royal Mage's Trick. These aren't very strong cards. It's mostly weak cards. And I think one of the major reasons why blue is so strong in the set is because in the weak run they just have these random, very strong cards, which makes it pretty easy to open up a pack that has multiple strong blue commons. Even if you have a blue drafter to your right, it's a pretty good chance that you still get good blue cards. I wanted to point out the strong ones in here are Clutch of Currents, Giant Mantis, Incubator Drone, and Colostra Healer. Giant Mantis isn't really that strong, but I wanted to throw in a green card in there as well. There's not very many strong green cards in here. The other good one might be like Iron Reef Invoker, is just good filler card. Not too exciting though. And there's also a Culling Drone for the Black Void deck. It's very good in there. Talking about Run B, I didn't actually get to put together the print run for this because you only get them in pairs. It's very hard to put together the whole sequence, but these are the cards that show up in here. They are all red and white. There's 22 cards that each show up 3 times in there, which makes it kind of difficult to put together again. The strong ones are Outnumber, Tandem Tactics, Kozilek Sentinel, Inspire Charge, Null Drone, Core Castigator. Again, these cards aren't super strong except for Outnumber seems really good. And but the rest of them are pretty narrow in their use. Like Inspire Charge is good if you're making a weenie deck. Core Castigator good in these aggro ally deck. Nettle Drone very strong in its Devoid deck, but a lot of these cards are pretty narrow or they're combat tricks. Something you want to have some of, but they're not very exciting. Tandem Tactics is kind of like, it's pretty exciting. Actually, I like it a lot, but overall not too strong. Moving on to run C1. This is where we start getting a lot of the stronger cards. However, I wasn't able to put together any pattern in here other than just like the grouping of what commons are in there. I even color coded to try to figure out some kind of pattern, and there's pretty much nothing. Even just like the usual rules of like colors of the same, cards of the same color shouldn't touch. Natural Connection and Unnatural Aggression are right next to each other on this print run, which is kind of peculiar. There's like two non-basics that are touching right next to each other as well. Kind of makes it annoying to try to like draw any conclusions when you get past a C1 card or C1 pack, which card is missing. I did want to point out the strong ones are like Demon's Grasp. I'll draw these Sky Spawner, Unnatural Aggression, Complete Disregard, Snapping Gnarlid, Bone Splinters. So again, a lot of strong removal spells in here, as well as just like some pretty good flyers like Cloud Mantin. I'll draw these Sky Spawner, Silent Skimmer are in here as well. The one hack that I did find very interesting is that Spell Shrivel and Complete Disregard show up right next to each other both times they were printed in this run. So a very high percentage of the time, if you see a pack that's missing a common and there's a Spell Shrivel still in there, it means that a Complete Disregard was taken from the pack unless the Complete Disregard is still in there. Something like 80%, at least 80%, like more like 83% of the time, you can be sure that a Complete Disregard was taken out of the pack if you see a Spell Shrivel and a common is missing. And then like the other 5% of the time it was probably Demon's Grasp. So you can be almost completely sure that a black removal spell is missing if you see Spell Shrivel in your pack. So that's a pretty easy one to remember. If you can use it, I would try, because it's a pretty good advantage to know that the guy to your immediate right is in black and you can stay out of his way. For run C2. This is mostly red and white cards, pretty strong, a lot of removals in here, a lot of the stronger cards, and then I want to talk about, so the ordering in here is like red, white, and then there's these other random colors that's like shoved in there. So you have red, white, Lifespring Druid, white, red, white, Kozilek Channeler, red, white, just goes on like that. They're just kind of shoved into the sequence. The exceptions that aren't red, white in here are these 5 cards. Benthic Infiltrator, Dominator Drone, Lifespring Druid, Kozilek Channeler, Hedron Blade. I'm not sure if there is any significance to the fact that these are like all 3 drops. They're enablers for like a specific deck. I'm not sure if these are like consciously chosen or just like randomly in there. But there are pretty strong cards in their specific decks especially. And yeah, there's a lot of removal in here. I didn't get to put together the actual run for this. But these are the 18 cards that show up. They each show up 3 times, except for Hedron Blade only shows up once. And that makes a whole print run sequence 55 cards long. Hopefully I get to figure it out later, but I need a lot more packs because it's annoying because they all show up 3 times. Other than that, a lot of strong removal, long strong flyers as well. Stone Fury, Sheer Drop, Touch of the Void, Gideon's Reproach, all really good removal spells are in here. They're all red-white. And then there's also these great guys with Evasion, Courier Griffin. There's also Ghostly Sentinel, and Benthic Infiltrator is in here as well. And then, McKinney Slide Runner, very strong 2-drop, it's in here. And so, yeah, most of the red, white, strong cards are in here, so look for that. And then, I want to talk about just a way that you could use these kind of pairings together. Coming back to our sheet over here, because of the peculiarity where you're going to have C1 packs that have only 1 red common and only 1 white common, and then there's a disparity with the C2 cards that always have multiple. There's usually 5 to 6 cards that are red-white in the pack. So it makes this very easy way to tell if someone took a red-white card. Either there are no white commons in your pack, which means someone took one, and that was probably in a C1 pack. Or what you can see is if there is one white common and then multiple red commons, that means that a white common was taken from the pack. Because if there are multiple red commons, there will always be multiple white commons as well. So you see only one, let's say you see McKinsey Slide Runner in your pack, and then you also see Ghostly Sentinel and Core Castigator. You see multiple white commons. That means the pack must have started with multiple red commons. So don't take that McKinsey Slide Runner as a signal, even if it's like super late. It might just mean that a red card like Touch of the Void was taken over. It could have even been Touch of the Void and outnumbered. There could have been multiple red cards taken out of this pack before McKinsey Slide Runner because of this weird grouping. You will always have very few red-white cards, or you will have a lot of red-white cards. Don't get sucked into a color because you see one. Don't get sucked into red or white because you see one going around late. They're usually packed together. And that is the other big hack that you can use over here. And I think that's going to end my video. If you have any comments, please feel free to leave them. I always like getting extra advice on how to improve this. And thanks for watching. Bye.